This investigation started with one person coming forward, and now it's extended far beyond that.
It puts people's lives in danger.
Right now, we're waiting on the results of what the city calls a thorough review of asbestos exposures. The city changed its story. The city manager's office launched an executive review following our investigation. We're talking top to bottom changes. The problem spot really comes down to this easement right here with this row of trees, but we wanted to talk to someone who is feeling the impact of that broken line, and it's this homeowner right in front of where the city pumps it. The new Austin Marriott downtown saying in a news release it's opening directly across the street from an expanding Austin Convention Center. But what's getting lost in all of this is the fact an expansion is not a sure thing at this point. Attendance numbers as you are pushing for an expanded center are something you hang your hat on because you talk about how attendance has gone up.
Sure.
Could we be sitting here another 20 years from now saying, well, those assumptions weren't accurate? It looks like you're just giving money out. We have gone through receipts, we have gone through audits, but if I'm sitting at home, I'm not going to know where to begin.
I feel like there's a lot of information, but if we can make it easier for people to find, we're all for suggestions.
I would suggest making it easier.
Okay, absolutely.
We've discovered many of these drivers have dangerous backgrounds. Our undercover cameras revealed just how easy it is for you to put your life at risk. He was charged in May with child molestation. He'd worked near children hundreds of times, fixing computers. If he were convicted today, what would you do?
I mean, probably terminate.
After going under the radar for years, those charges add up. When you say it's just $1 or $2 or $3 a month, it sounds like minimizing, and I'm sure these folks feel like this is a big deal.
Well, the checks when they come back, if they've been there with us for 48 months, could be a substantial amount of money.
The concern I have is that it wouldn't have been identified if we didn't reach out.
That's right.
Frankly, I did not know.
It wasn't until we told the mayor.
I think the issue that you raise is something that a lot more people should know about.
I want to buy your property. No pressure. We've been trying to reach you. It's important. I can pay you cash for your house as is. These are just some of the examples of the mailers people are getting in Southeast Austin, including Councilmember Delia Garza. The difference in what you pay on your tax bill could come down to the fence line separating you and your neighbor. Under one of the proposed scenarios, a typical AISD homeowner would pay about $8 less. Then anyone outside that boundary would pay close to $45 more. With this storm, the pictures tell the story, but where we are right now, it's really more about what you hear. This is what neighbors are calling almost like a mini Niagara Falls right in their backyard. The water continuing to rise. In fact, we've had to keep moving our crew back further and further. And officials just want to remind people that's the sense of urgency you need, which is why they've been going door to door to homes in this area, reminding them get what you need, but more importantly, get your family and get out. The same thing that makes trade days great, different odds and ends, items, trailers, vendors, is the same reason this area can quickly become a hazard.
It's a death trap right here.
It's a madhouse in there.
As an investigation continues to determine the scope of a Travis County title scheme. What's happening is the 4 other satellite locations are closed right now, leading to the bottleneck to this location you see here. The wait time anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And we're told it could be like this into next week. When they responded, they brought everyone in because at that point they didn't know if it was connected. Well, it turns out that one was. They did not grab their belongings. He said his keys are still inside, so he has not been able to get to his car. They left their jackets. He described it being cold out this morning, and I say those details just so you realize how quickly they wanted everyone out. We've yet to see any records proving that. Back to you.
Tonight, KXAN reveals more unauthorized construction work on City of Austin buildings leading to asbestos contaminations. Building projects moving forward, putting workers at risk of exposure to this substance. It's been linked to cancer if breathed in over long periods.
And now investigator Kylie McGivern has learned the city manager's office has called for an executive review after we discovered this potentially dangerous system breakdown.
There's a lot of people that were involved that are concerned. The bottom line is what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. It doesn't go any further than that.
This worker agreed to speak with us under one condition. We conceal his identity for fear of retaliation. He says he and others had concerns about asbestos inside the city's Doris Miller Auditorium earlier this year.
We were doing wall construction, air conditioning, ceiling drops, and stuff like that.
City documents show that renovation work was not supposed to happen. Here's why. Before any work is done on a city building, a department must fill out a work request to avoid any potential asbestos exposures. The Parks and Recreation Department submitted its work request for this project, a music studio for youth, but it was denied by the city's asbestos manager because a survey was needed to know if asbestos was inside the building.
Asbestos is a carcinogen, and so any level of asbestos exposure is not deemed to be safe.
It wasn't until a few weeks into the project where a return vent was punched in the wall. We came back one morning and we were stopped because it had to be abated.
This worker says he did not know the construction he and his crews were doing had not been approved. So I wanted you to take a look at that.
So it was denied before we even went in there. This is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. There you have it.
It's unclear who gave the green light to start work without proper approval or how many people might have been exposed. Now, the city's looking into it. What do you think when you hear that concern?
Doesn't sound like the appropriate action to take once you've been advised by a licensed consultant not to do the work.
We learned this is not the first time construction has continued after a work request was denied in the past year. Over at Austin Water, the city shot down a request, noting all walls, floors, and window glazing are positive for asbestos. Still, work moved forward, and 20 people were potentially exposed. Comments from workers on injury forms say they never knew or were informed, but management knew about it, and that department heads should have told workers about it so they could wear the right safety equipment. At the Austin Fire Department, photos we obtained from the city show a training facility where unauthorized construction disturbed asbestos in the flooring. More than 30 people were working in the building, though it's still unknown how many might have been exposed. Now, the city is trying to learn why work proceeded in those departments without approval as well. We discovered part of the reason: no one is actually following up on denied work requests.
City staff is responsible for their own safety. We don't follow up by checking to make sure they do not disturb the materials. And if it's necessary to add components to enhance the ability of the program to function appropriately, then that would be something that we would look at.
At the end of the day, all for what? What did that project mean so much that it put people's lives in danger?
The Austin City Council reacting tonight after a KXAN investigation reveals nearly $500,000 public tax dollars spent on food, alcohol, concerts, jewelry, and gift cards just in the past 2 years alone. The city's Convention and Visitors Bureau calls those expenses investments to bring big events to town and boost the economy. Now, some city leaders tell KXAN investigator Kylie McGivern they are questioning that big spending ahead of tomorrow's vote to approve Visit Austin's budget.
It's a very competitive business, and sometimes a dinner doesn't do it.
Visit Austin's business hinges on bringing tourists, groups, and conventions to the live music capital of the world. To land the deals and book hotel rooms, Visit Austin paid top dollar for concerts and big events over the last 2 years. More than 13,000 during last year's Formula One race weekend. More than $6,100 on tickets to see Adele. And more than $18,000 on 75 tickets to see Lady Gaga perform in several other cities across the nation, but not Austin.
Lady Gaga World Tour?
We showed the receipts to Councilmember Ellen Troxclair.
You know, the Lady Gaga tickets are interesting because that's not necessarily showcasing Austin.
So how do you promote Austin when you're in a different city with a non-Austin based artist?
That's a great question. So we take music with us everywhere that we can.
Visit Austin says it's taken Austin artists on the road to give a taste of what the city has to offer, but that's not always possible.
So that's when we'll look for concerts that will be of interest to our clients so that we can give them that live music experience and then tell them more about Austin, encourage them to come and visit.
When we're talking about all these receipts, what money are we talking about?
So these specific receipts are from hotel occupancy tax.
Tax dollars also covering $4,000 worth of American Express gift cards.
These are just gift cards? I mean, why would we be giving... I guess I know you said that, but it didn't fully register until I'm seeing this receipt.
When critics look at this, it looks like you're just giving money out.
You know, and that's where I would hope people would ask us, you know, what are you doing?
Cheese on that quarter pounder?
Hart says some gift cards were for local food trucks, others door prizes for an event. How do you assure that these gift cards are used the way that you intend them to be used?
We're not just handing these out, or we don't have them just sitting in a pile for someone to grab, but there's always oversight.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a lot of money, and I understand that that's part of their job is to be selling Austin. You know, it is still taxpayer dollars. I think to the extent that we can just be open and transparent with each other and allow them the opportunity to say, here's what we're spending and here's why, then it allows the council to make an informed decision about whether or not that level of funding is appropriate.
Tomorrow, City Council is expected to vote on Visit Austin's budget and how the group plans to spend nearly $15 million in hotel occupancy tax collections. That's the money generated when people spend the night in Austin hotels. That pot has grown to $90 million this year. The reason why some council members and critics are calling for more scrutiny. Council is exploring increasing the hotel tax by 2%. And no doubt it will be among the debate tomorrow. We'll be at that meeting and here on KXAN News at 10 to update you on what this all means for Visit Austin moving forward. Kylie McGivern, KXAN News.
Police confirming they are investigating a former Austin firefighter.
Part of the evidence they're looking at, video of him talking about paying for child pornography. But no arrest or charges have been filed at this time.
KXAN investigator Kylie McGivern obtained that video that circulated among firefighters this week. Kylie?
Yes, Robert in Sydney. It is this search warrant that says this all started when a woman who had been in a relationship with Eric Spolteholtz posted a video on Facebook. We've learned the Austin Firefighters Association turned over the video to police on Wednesday, the same day he retired from AFD.
Obviously, it's incredibly despicable and sickening.
Bob Nix, president of the Austin Firefighters Association, says firefighters became aware of the video showing Eric Spolteholtz this week.
What we know is that several hundred firefighters received a messenger.
A Facebook message sharing this.
For what you wire money to her for?
Those pictures of the kid.
And how much money did you send this woman in all?
Unknown. Oh, probably over $700.
And you told her certain things that you want from her?
Yeah. Just take pictures like, it's normal, not like do anything abusive, not like, do anything bad like that. Just take the pictures, naked pictures. No sexual acts or anything like that.
So you're attracted to 3 or 4-year-olds?
No, it was just kind of the excitement of actually happening was more important than anything else. It wasn't that, I'm really not into 3 or 4 years, but the attraction that it was actually happening, yeah, that was what it was doing for me.
Police interviewed the woman you can hear asking those questions. She described another instance 18 years ago when he allegedly played a sexual video of a young girl with an adult male. According to the search warrant, she had concerns later on that he may be attracted to her own teenage daughter. Spolteholtz has been with the Austin Fire Department for more than 20 years. AFD says it started to investigate, but before it went any further, Spolteholtz retired. Because he is no longer with the department, AFD tells us it's not investigating.
They need to investigate to the extent they can be assured that they've learned everything they can about this event, and it didn't go any further than this one former firefighter.
As the chair of Austin's Public Safety Commission, Rebecca Weber agrees with the union president.
It will be very important to conduct an investigation to make sure that nothing ever happened while this person was on duty. When someone retires from a public safety department under a cloud of scrutiny, that doesn't mean that the issue has been put to rest.
A spokesperson for the fire department tells us they can't get into any specifics on any allegations. As APD's investigation remains ongoing, we want to reiterate at this time no charges have been filed. We have not been able to locate Spolteholtz for comment. Back to you.
The accused Waffle House shooter is in jail tonight, caught today following Sunday's attack. But it only comes as so much comfort to the family of Joe Perez. KXAN's Kylie McGivern traveled to Hays County and spoke with his family, raw with emotion.
He was just the most loving child, even when he was a baby.
A loving child whose life was really just getting started at age 20.
And now my son will never live another day. He will never be 21. He will never have kids.
Joe Perez's mother spoke with us from Nashville after meeting with Waffle House where her son was shot.
They told me they watched the video and that my son never had a chance.
Trisha Perez says her son was the first of 4 people killed.
My son passed the shooter, opened the door for him, and he shot him. There was nothing my son could have done. There was nothing he could have. He didn't know. He didn't know. He didn't know.
Perez called us from her son's room, where he'd been staying the last 4 months working for his older brother.
I'm sitting in his room in his safe. Because this is all I have. This is all I have.
I thought me moving him up here would be safe, you know, that I could protect him, I could guide him. Instead, I brought him to the place he'd die.
What Joe's family wants people to remember is his smile. One Christian says really did light up the room.
I know that expression is often used, but I mean, it was true with him.
And here he is with his family, with his brothers.
Another family member shared a story from Joe's grandmother.
He told me that one of his jokes when they got there, he was saying how beautiful it was. And he was like, well, Tennessee, here's your 10, talking about himself. So, and she said it was pretty funny that she's going to hold on to that, you know, memory and that joke of his forever.
Holding on to the memories and each other for Joe.
We're all going to just pull together for each other and just try to get them through this as much as we can.
Kylie McGivern, KXAN
6 o'clock, a father's terrifying tale revealing how new statewide ride-hailing regulations could be putting all riders at risk.
If this happens to one person, it can happen to a lot. And I'm sure that this has happened to more than one girl and they haven't done anything about it.
Rider beware, there's no system in place to prevent a driver banned from one ride-hailing company from giving rides for another.
A father reached out to KXAN with his story of a driver propositioning his daughter for prostitution. Investigator Kylie McGivern has been taking a closer look at the system that allowed this to happen. Kylie.
Yeah, so it was in May that rideshare oversight shifted from the city to the state. And when that happened, certain types of information sharing went away. It used to be whenever a driver was arrested, charged with a crime, or denied a license to operate for any reason, all rideshares received a notification from the city. But the state overruled those local policies. Today, we learned driver Yaniel Morjan was arrested for DWI and charged with felony possession of cocaine back in November. Fasten, which says it expressed concerns about the notification system going away, had no idea.
My first emotion, I guess, was shock, and then it was fury.
A father protective of his 22-year-old daughter.
I just wanted to get my hands on this guy.
He says he learned a Fasten driver
Suggests to my daughter that she might like to prostitute herself. I mean, my God, she's just come from her sister's place. She's just going home.
Frank Edwards is at a loss as to how someone with this behavior could be cleared to drive for a rideshare company.
I don't know what to tell you. This is just wrong on so many levels.
But here's what caught our attention. Ride Austin had already banned the driver from its platform 3 months ago.
We did receive alert from the city that he was ineligible to drive.
Ride Austin is the only rideshare in Austin that requires its drivers to get a fingerprint-based chauffeur permit. It's more work on the driver, but the city still flags when those drivers are ineligible to drive in real time.
If there is a better way to share data amongst rideshares, we're very open to having that dialogue. We want to have a safe city, and if somebody is not on our platform because of a serious reason,
maybe they shouldn't be driving with the other ride shares as well.
I want people to be aware of this. I want the companies to be aware of it, and I want them to vet these people properly.